All right, welcome back. Last time the audio wasn't working, so hopefully this time it will come through from the get-go. We won't have issues there. I also now have a second window for the chat, so that way, if there is an issue, you guys can let me know ahead of time. Today we'll be moving into phase two of our project. So last time we started with a transcript like this. We then ran it through one of our workflows that we created here to move it into um, Notion to be stored. That then creates rows now here in the internal recordings, which we're going to now process, break it into pieces so that we can move it into the company brain. And the company brain can be used a variety of different ways. This is like the key step in creating a RAG pipeline is you need a place where you have things broken down, tagged or categorized, so that way it knows the best way to use these when it's doing the retrieval process. So if you think about it, right, if you just throw a whole bunch of information into a place, how is it going to know the proper way to use that? We're going to be setting that up today, so that way we can now take these raw files, break them down into reusable chunks that are very specific to what we're looking for um, retrieving for things like content creation or being able to be used by a chatbot. So last time here, right, these are pretty raw transcript files themselves, um, but you can get notes out of them, which should be the key takeaways. We're going to go through today, we're going to create the process that will generate these and then put them into uh, the Notion. So this will come here, it'll now go into the company brain. These are some examples that we have here. How this breaks down is by default, everything would go to needs review. So that way we can get approval before we put it into the vector databases that we'll use later. The date, this will be the date that the meeting had happened. The topic name will be generated similar to these notes here. There's going to be, a topic related to each of these. We're actually going to include hopefully some information a bunch of descriptive information here in the title. Then there's a type. So we've identified like these three common types of things we want to capture. Something to do with like the company strategy or the systems. It's a product concept or idea for a new product. And then training and how-tos. So they might have a meeting where they're training a new employee. Let's put that into the company brain so that way the chatbot also knows about it. So that way they can ask it a question and be able to get an answer without needing a person. The domain here, this is where you're going to have um, a lot of options to break these down. These are all areas where the company operates. So we need to, give it options to select all of these here, and we'll need to provide descriptions to these when we get to that step. And then the pillars, these are the company's four main pillars. We do let it select multiple of the pillars just because sometimes there's crossover and you're talking, it may not entirely be entirely talking about, things you want to work on and improve on for yourself. You may also want to talk about like your career in business. So we want to let it to select multiple of these pillars. And then this part here is the actual AI summary that was generated. So if we go back to these meeting notes, right, this is going to be your topic title, but these are going to be the AI summary portion that's there. In the last two columns, the SOP, this links to um, something we're not going to use right now, but if it were a training or how to, we would also want to make sure we tie it to a company standard operating procedure. And then the raw file. So I do need to change this because we're not using the raw asset library. So we'll do this here. Uh, oops, go create relation. And we want to go to the raw internal recordings. We'll add this as a relation. And then we can delete the raw file here. This was a change from last time, but we set everything out to the raw internal recordings here because there was like too much overlap between this and the raw asset library, and this is better from the technical architecture. So like the raw asset library, there's a lot of photos and videos in here, and you can see they link out to specific things like products. We don't have that for these internal recordings. They're a bit different, right? There's text and video files. Um, these all are all going to go into the brain capture, whereas the raw assets wouldn't necessarily do the same thing. So we wanted to set this up in a little bit of a better structure. So then the last thing here is the raw internal recordings. So pull this over. This is, I was having Claude help me code this up, but I need now to explain the each of these columns, right? So this is similar to how I explained them to you. I need to give it details on what each of these are. And the toughest one is the domain here. There's a lot of options to select from, right? And so we need to go and talk about each of these to give it some description. Right? If we talk about, um, you can see here, just for the pillar, similar to what I explained, each of these are a key aspect of the company, and a topic can cover multiple of these pillars. So the domain options are product development, supply chain, influencer slash affiliate, brand marketing, content, digital marketing, Amazon sales ops, non-Amazon sales ops. Capitalize that for everybody, yes. Okay. AI slash automation systems, customer services, there's presence, I think I did that one wrong. C at the end. Go back and double quote all these. Finance and admin, wealth creation, kids, education, you'll see. And then personal wellness and relationships. Only select one for each of these. So when you're using the LLM here, you want to create a description. I accidentally hit enter earlier, so that's why I came back and um, edited the original message. So we wanted to, like I said, describe everything here about the Notion-based database first. So that way it has this, and then we're going to go and we're going to build out the automation process. So we come here. Um, Yesterday, I did some testing just to make sure we can access OpenAPI or OpenAI's API. Gave it the test transcript from a meeting, had it generate a response here. So we're going to branch off of this workflow to do the same thing. So first step in the automation is to retrieve the files from a different Notion database called, what was that, the raw internal recordings. Then pass the transcripts one by one to OpenAI for processing. Let's limit it to one for now. Make sure it's working correctly. The idea here is that you wouldn't want to throw everything all at it when you're first setting it up. You want to make sure that you're actually going to process the file correctly in those earlier steps. And then when you get it to OpenAI, right, you're doing another step of processing. So you want to make sure that that is also working in the way that you want it to. So yeah, you don't want to use the schedule yet, but it's okay. We're going to go here. So I just want to disconnect this one and pull it aside for now. You can always come back and use this. So I want to go Notion. And probably get many database pages from database. Raw. Go here. Raw internal recordings. Why isn't it picking it up? Okay. So because I haven't set it up, okay. Notion. I'm gonna do this off screen just so it doesn't accidentally share credentials or anything like that. And there we go. Now it should fill up. Okay. That was simple enough to do. Didn't show anything, so I'll show you how to do it here. So once you're on that database page, so if you create a new database after creating your connection, go to the three dot icon here. In connections, there was nothing here before. I just connected the connector that I had set up to give us access to this. And then when you do that, it just gives you a pop-up and you just hit connect and that allows it to show. So that's why it's showing here now in the options. So like I said, we'll limit it to one for now because we want to make sure that we are getting a page back to actually use here. So we do have it. Great. So we have the Notion database, right? We got the raw file name here. You can see the asset URL. We want to actually use that now to go to Google Drive. Let's say we want to do search. We're looking for a file. Take the field and we'll put from Drive. This should come from the meeting recordings. If I do that, does it work? About that. I guess I need to use the property name. If this works. If I do the meeting recording, taking longer than I would like. I think I should just use download instead of search. So let's try that. Do that. Google Drive, download file, file from list. We have this. Will I need to parse it if I do this way? Okay, there's another way to do this. You can go here, Notion, get a database page. We're going to get it. No, this doesn't work the way I thought it was going to do. Okay. We need to figure out how to parse the parse the drive file correctly. This is not pulling it back correctly. Yeah. So let's go here. For the Google Drive link, I guess the internal recordings. I have the web link URL to the Google Drive page. And we parse that to use for the download file step. So just add this in there. Code step. Call this extract drive file ID. I think it's this part to replace here. I don't need these here. I really it might be useful to keep the page ID. The rest we're not really going to use. So, okay. Now we've gotten the file ID here. We can now go to this step. Put that in there. Great. Now we have the let's say this is showing as a X. We can always open it up later once we have more going through here. So it says to create under options, binary property data. Put output file in field. I think it's doing this already. Grab these, put them over. Put in a new code node. That's not going to work the way it wants it to. I think this is what it intended. Now if I run this step, okay, let's try. I don't think that this worked. Correct. Hmm. Putting it in here. We've got this docx, right? Come here. Maybe I selected the wrong type here. Correct. Still not working the way we wanted it to. No, doesn't change anything. Okay. So let's just screenshot this and we'll say these are the options we have from extract from file. Which to use here. Now we've got text. Hey, thought I saw you had a question. Go for it. I'll keep working here while your question pops up. There we go. Now we have the output here. So that's working correctly now. Just checking to see if that question pops up. Now, this is the test where we gave it the raw text file here. So it's going to pass everything through. Right, you can see it's quite a lot in there. Okay. Now we are ready to pass it to OpenAI. Realistically, it could be any of the processors that you want to use, so it doesn't have to be OpenAI. It could be Gemini or Claude. That part's fine. Right, so I just said from the meeting transcript, help me organize the takeaways. This could be more detailed. The notes, or I guess I could say the text is the meeting is from Gemini. What is the optimal prompt using the structure that I laid out previously of the company brain table? Ideally, we want this to all be processed correctly. So now it's saying go here. The first step is to set the system message, then to set the user message. So we'll delete that for now. The system prompt, this is what it said. And again, we will do some tweaking here. And then it's just saying use this here. It's saying transcript, but we can just drag and drop this in. You don't need to get fancy. We have that. I want to read over this and just make sure it did a good job. think that should be the second, because the first one we need to generate the pieces. So I'm just going to give it this feedback. I think this is the second part. The first part is to summarize that meeting notes more coherently. I didn't spell that right. Yeah. Then do this step. So we'll do is we'll move this here, right? Easy thing here is to duplicate this. So I don't want to, this is the part that it's now struggling with. For this first part should be to take meeting notes and generate multiple topics, limiting it to the 150 300 words, will not allow it to generate them, generate multiple. I guess GPT-4 is fine. Right, so this changes here. That's the main one. And then this changes here now. So let's just start there. This is saying to put options here. I don't think any of these are actually, I don't see temperature. I see the max number of tokens. Let's just see what it generates. We've limited it only to one for this process, so we're okay there. And once we, I guess this is right, generate topics for brain. I bet this is the maximum number of input tokens, right? That's causing an issue. We'll take that off for now. We'll go back there. So this is, we're just defining these steps better. So get notion rows to process. Download original files from Drive. Extract text from files. How did I get it to actually do that? Where was the other? Okay. So we've got output here. We got the text output. Yeah, now we need to parse them. One here. Need code. Content text. Let's see what this is. This part is the part that changes. Was it only a single? Return the title and the summary, but it didn't get the original transcript because that wouldn't be there. The original transcript should be the data here. But at first, there should be item. So now if I, yes, okay, that part's there. It should be here. Again, item, and then I can take this part out. The only thing that we do not have is the original create date. For what it's looking for here. Now I run that. I got the Notion page ID back. Got the URL. I need the original create date. we have that anywhere, right? Yeah. So the easier way would be pull this in the original here, right? We just say this is 0 and make me select it. Okay, May 30. This is June 2nd. Look, there's 2 June 2nds. July 7th. July 7th. This is something to go back and check later. Is we have multiple with the same date. Is that actually true? Right, this is the first one, and 34, and then the second. So this didn't properly do this. Like this should be the second one. And I would guess this is the same. We need to go back and fix that. This is that. Yeah. So that part was not working correctly. But then this should come from the original get notion rows to process. We'll go back and we'll fix that later. It doesn't interfere with what we're trying to do now. I want to clean this up. So it a lot here bugged out when it generated the response. I don't think that changed anything, honestly. And then instead of the data here, it should like title and summary. Like title, and then the summary. So go back here. Right, so one came through. Now if I execute this, at least for the one that came through, we can generate the summary. Or not the summary, sorry, the categories. It should be generate generate categorizations. Domain got confused. So that part we'll have to work through next time. I'm basically out of time for today. Um, so we need to come back and we need to fix up the domain mapping part here. We see like we explained it, but it did not pick one of the options here. I'm just trying to see if there was temperature. There it is. Temperature should be 0. You want it to do a fixed thing. You don't want it to deviate, right? When we told it to select um, certain, types or domains here. So that part is what we have holding up. So we don't want the randomness to interfere with what it is that we are trying to do here. It did not do a great job here, so I'll do some more experimentation and we'll come back to this next time with getting it to the proper thing here, because this part can take a little while, poking it, and um, getting it to the right outcome that you want here. So, like I said, we're mostly here. So this is um, let's take transcripts into brain. So we have the output here. The last step here is a Notion. We're going to go create a database page now. This one, we have the internal recordings, but this is actually going to the brain. And so then we need to map to each of the fields here. So AI summary comes from the previous step. We need this. Is it summary? Need to parse that. And then we have date. We talked about that. We got that other thing, pillar. Yeah, we missed the parsing step. We need to go here, code node. We have here. This just needs to be .txt. All right, I'll have to stop here for today. We'll come back. I'm already late for a meeting, but we'll wrap this up at the beginning of next time, where we'll parse out the response and get it written into the Notion database. So for those of you who are watching today, thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you all next time.